Newport News is a complete hellhole, and we just had to get out. All right, I'm just kidding. I know that's what people on the internet probably want me to say. The truth is, we loved our 14 years in Newport News, but it was time for a change. We were looking for something a little different as our lives evolved, and so a few months ago, we made the move up the street to Williamsburg. Since then, I've been asked dozens of times why we decided to move. I've answered the question so many times, I figured we should go ahead and make a video about it. So let's get into it. First, why did we move at all? We loved our home in Newport News. We bought that house in 2012, just a couple months after getting married, and put a whole lot of love into it over the years. By the time we moved, I really thought we had transformed the home from an outdated 60s rancher to a home someone could be very proud of for years and years. In fact, if you had asked me 3 years ago if I thought I'd ever move, I probably would have said no. I really wanted to stay in that house with our 3.25% interest rate and extremely manageable mortgage. Our preschool and kindergarten monthly payments were more than our mortgage, if that helps put in perspective how affordable the house was. But like all things, our lives changed over time, and eventually it made sense to start looking at our next chapter. Our biggest life change, other than the birth of our child, came about 2 years ago when my wife left her job as an elementary school special ed teacher to come work with me. It was actually almost the exact same time I started this YouTube channel. Within a few months, a few things became very clear. The first being that we really needed a dedicated home office. Splitting my time working between home and our company office wasn't very efficient, and we weren't great at working from separate locations. The next part was trying to make these videos in a very busy and often noisy office, which meant I had to either stay really late or come in on the weekends to film, and that was getting pretty tiresome. This is only my second video in this, my new home office / studio, so I hope you really like the new setup. But we certainly could have just bought a larger home in Newport News and solved that problem. So why exactly did we move to Williamsburg? Let's start off with a big one, and that's the schools. The most predictable trend in our local real estate market for both Newport News and Hampton is for young couples to buy their first home in these cities, and then when their children reach school age, to move to a neighboring town with a better school system, like York County, Poquoson, or Williamsburg. It's either that or send their kids to private school. My family's no different. At first, we decided to go the private school route, and our daughter went to kindergarten at Hampton Roads Academy, where she'll be wrapping up the school year in about a month. And it's been an amazing experience. She's loved every second she's been there, and the amount she's grown academically this year is beyond my wildest dreams. Had we decided to stay in our old home and kept her at HRA, I think she absolutely would have flourished there. But, of course, private school is very expensive. And if we wanted to buy a new, larger home in a part of Newport News where we wanted to live, the cost of the home and private school just wasn't in the cards. The other option, of course, would be to switch to public school. And while I certainly don't have a major problem with Newport News schools, I think they're better than people give them credit for, I don't think the overall environment was right for us. We would have been zoned in our last house for BC Charles Elementary, and it seems like a great little school. I'm sure she would have done well there. But there are just little things that let me know it wasn't the best fit for us. Like having to use the city-issued clear backpacks ever since the Rich Neck Elementary School shooting, and now wearing name badges at all times at the high school level. Because my wife taught in the local school system, including 3 years at Hilton Elementary, we know there are some really great teachers and administrators in Newport News. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to go with your gut and do what you think is best for your family. And for us, that was moving to Williamsburg schools. And I know that the James City County school system, like many public schools across the country, has its own set of problems. It's far from perfect. Overcrowding, for example, is a big issue. But the issues here we felt are far more acceptable than the issues in Newport News. And her overall chance for a positive experience from elementary through high school is much higher here in Williamsburg. The next big change we were looking for was being around a lot of other young families. Our neighborhood in Newport News, like many that are filled with 1960s and 70s brick ranchers, skewed older. In a lot of cases, it's still the original owners. Because of that, our neighborhood had very few children our daughter's age. Now, there are definitely neighborhoods in Newport News, like Kiln Creek, that are filled with kids. We just didn't want to live there if we moved, and couldn't afford to live there when we bought our first house. The other issue you run into is what I mentioned in the last segment, Many families start in Newport News and then move when they outgrow their home or want to get into a better school system. So even if you are in an older neighborhood that does have small children, there's a strong chance they're going to leave. And with the high percentage of military families that are only here for a few years at a time, there just wasn't any stability in our neighborhood in terms of friends for our daughter to go play with without us having to drive somewhere. Now it's the exact opposite. Our Williamsburg neighborhood and most of the surrounding neighborhoods are filled with young families, and there are tons of other kids that are outside on their bikes and their scooters all the time. And families tend to stay in their homes longer here, so there's much more stability. This is really what we wanted for our daughter. She loves playing with other kids so much, and watching her get home from school and immediately sprint down the street to play with chalk or go jump on the neighbor's trampoline has been the absolute best. As a bonus, my wife and I get to spend time with other parents around our age, and in a few short months, we've engaged more with our community here than we ever did in 12 years at our last house in Newport News. Now, we could have moved to just about anywhere in Williamsburg and had the great schools and had kids to play with. But there was one special aspect that brought me to the Jamestown area, and that's the Powhatan Creek and Green Springs Trail System. If you've watched other videos of mine, you may know that I have 2 dogs and we go on lots of hikes together. And when I was in Newport News, every Sunday I would take them to Nolan Trail, which I still think is the best trail system in Hampton Roads. And if we had stayed in Newport News, I would have only moved to a home where I could quickly walk to Nolan Trail and take them there every day. In fact, that was my plan for a really long time. The problem is that the larger homes near Nolan Trail cost just about the same as the homes of equal size in Williamsburg, which meant that if we wanted to move there, we couldn't do private school anymore. So when we were thinking about where in Williamsburg we wanted to live, I knew I wanted to live right on the Powhatan and Green Springs trails. These trails combined have more than 5 miles of paved and hard-packed gravel paths that wind through the woods and over the Powhatan Creek. It's a beautiful trail system that is perfect for walking the dogs, going for a run, or even hopping on your bike. The paved section connects to the Capitol Trail, which is a 51-mile-long bike path that starts at Jamestown Settlement and goes all the way to Richmond. The paths wind between the various neighborhoods in Jamestown, which also allows other neighborhood kids to hop on their bikes and scooters and go visit their friends down the street. It really helps create this wonderful environment and community feeling, and there really isn't anything like it in the entire region. And now I have the whole thing right outside my back gate. And lastly, and I don't really know how else to put this, it's just nicer here. Williamsburg is cleaner, there's far less traffic, it's quieter, there's less crime, the grocery stores are less crowded. We spend a lot of time in Colonial Williamsburg, and that's right down the street now too. It's just that most aspects of living for where I am now in my life are better in Williamsburg. And the things in Newport News that are better aren't as important to me anymore. For example, the gyms in Newport News are better than in Williamsburg. The Cinemark movie theater in City Center is better than the theaters in Williamsburg. Those are 2 things I really cared about in the past. Newport News is closer to the beaches in Hampton, where we spent a lot of time. But now we're so busy with sports and birthday parties and all sorts of other family and friend stuff, we don't make it down there nearly as much as we used to. So being an extra 20 minutes away isn't a very big deal. And really, just the overall vibe of Williamsburg, we find to be more pleasant and more in line with our lifestyle. So when you combine all of that, you get the honest to goodness truth as to why we moved to Williamsburg. For where we are in our lives, it's just better place to live. But what's important for you to know is that my move hasn't changed our dedication to serving the entire Hampton Roads region. So whether you're looking to make a local move and join me here in Williamsburg, or you're moving into the region in need of a dedicated team of agents to help you find a home anywhere in southeastern Virginia, we're here to help. You can call, text, or email anytime. And don't forget to subscribe and share this video with anyone else you know who may be making a move to the Hampton Roads region. And then go ahead and leave a comment below. Why did you make your last move? My name is David Tortellini. I'm with eXp Realty. Thank you so much for watching.